Okay, folks, this will be an interesting one. It has potential. It sure brings me back to the 90s, folks. Even though I've done heaps of these similar looking things before, but this one reminds me of the 90s, which was a happier time. Okay, let's see what this is we've got. It says nom noms, like nom 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 nom, like eating. And this is a holographic paper. Just see what this is. I think it's a notepad without lines. It's a notepad. Fancy one for kids, usually for kids. So we're interested in this piece here on the side. But yeah, kids love this shit. Nom noms. I do like that holographic stuff. As I said, it takes me back to the 90s when I was young. I really miss those years. There was a better time in history than what we have now. And yeah, that looks interesting, but it's all cold colours. I don't get much of the hot colours on the page. Maybe if I flatten it. But I really miss the 90s because it was a better time and things were looking up. I wasn't happy when I was living in the 90s, but I now feel much happier now, and then I just don't feel like I recognise the world anymore. The world has become a cold, hard place where people with lots of money and power abuse their money and power, and they don't care about anyone else but themselves. And I really get frustrated with that status quo that we have, and it really pisses me off, to be honest, folks. I don't feel like there's any care in this world anymore. I'm wondering which one I want to use. Maybe that one's got a little bit more warmth in some of those bits. But I do get frustrated now, and I just get really annoyed at the way the world has become, and it's really frustrating, and it's something I feel there is no control. It's like everyone who wants to make a difference feels this sense of sheer frustration and wanting to see the world become a better place for everyone, not just for the elite. But the elite rule. They have the money, and therefore they've got the power, and they'll do anything to keep the status quo. And that status quo, to me, stinks. And I have no power. Like most people, I have no power like most people who want to make a difference. So frustration rules, and the photocopier industry is a pain point. For me, it's a pain point. I see that there is no... Now that looks interesting. I do think maybe we've got that edge still. But I get frustrated not being able to do anything in this world to make a difference. And it's just a load of frustration. And I just can't do anything to make things better. And today is another day where the anniversary of xerography, or the toner-based photocopier, has had, or rather its process, has had its birthday. On the day it was invented was the October the 22nd, 1938. I don't know how many years ago that was. I can't count that in my head. My ability to do mental arithmetic is really poor, but basically it was the year that the basic process was invented, and it was invented by a man called Chester Carlson and his lab assistant Otto Kornai. So they together created the first piece of copy using, well, it wasn't like the manufactured toner of today. I think it was stuff called lycopodium powder. But basically they used what they could get and they got the process, but it took like 25 years of hard work and passion to finally get the finished product, which was the what was called the Xerox 914. But basically Xerox was not a rich company. It was not a company founded on richness. It was from scratch almost, with the help of a company called Haloid Company of Rochester, New York, they weren't really rich, but they were the only company that was willing to gamble on Chester Carlson's concept. And Chester was no rich person. He was born into poverty, so there was no richness there. And Xerox indeed is now grown up to be a real bitch. I don't have any respect for Xerox anymore. I respect the old Xerox that was what it was. That was true innovation, but it's no longer like that anymore. I have no admiration for them now. I'm just wondering what I'm going to do with this. But I really wish the world could be different, that companies like Xerox can make real changes, real innovation, like in the old days, instead of the shit we have today, which is all about money. And the thing is, there is no Xerox in Australia anymore, because the company that bought out a part of Xerox and made it into Xerox, Fuji Xerox, has now bought out what was left of Fuji Xerox, and now it all comes under the umbrella of Fujifilm. And Fujifilm is a really sick, money-fucked company. I don't like it. It's cold. It's clinical. There's just no feeling in it. But there is no Xerox anymore. There is none. It's no longer. So in Australia we don't have anything to do with Xerox. If I could take over Xerox, folks, I would rebuild it from the ground up. It would be a different company to the company we currently know. But it's a huge company, and how can you take on a huge multinational? That's a good question. How to reform something that doesn't want to be reformed, that just wants to be money fucked. It's a big company, but we don't have it here in Australia anymore. Any ties with the company? It's all being gobbled up by Fujifilm. Fujifilm, yuck. Hate them. Anyway, that looks really quite interesting. I think now we can call this demo quits.